You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network. You know, a lot of times people associate wish lists or, desires of certain things at certain times of year, specifically most times around Christmas, maybe also around birthdays. But have you really thought about that every day you can center yourself towards achieving something for that particular day? And it could be simply get all of the things on my task done, do all my chores, do whatever I need to do as far as work, business, get my family situated, work out today. Anything that will allow you to have a level of completion. I think we have become adapt to being distracted. Our world is heavily distracting right now. We have so many things accessible to us all the time. It makes it easy for anybody to be distracted. But how well are we completing and executing things, right? And today I was thinking about the factor of it's my Monday, for everybody in the world today is Monday. At some point in time, it's Monday for everybody. And how people start their weeks or their Mondays varies. So how well are you preparing for your week or even for your day? So one of the things that I've always done for a long time, as far as I can remember, I've always had this habit that once a year, at least, I would kind of make an account and look at things that I wrote down or said that I wanted to accomplish in the prior year. And I try to look at those things and see how well did I execute them, right? Did I get them through a level of completion? And a lot of times there may be a wish list or a desired list or a goal list, different things you might call it. But at the end of the day, it's really a comparison to really kind of check in with yourself and see how well you're coming through whatever it is that you desire to have done. So, guys, let's talk about execution today, because Monday is a great day to start off with things that can make a big difference in the way your week goes. And if you're able to execute and deliver on what you need to do, I think it makes a world of difference. It's Sonny's Monday Motivation. Let's go. No matter the time or the season, we're open and available 24/7. Shouldn't your dealership be too? Carumba.com, the convenient online used vehicle marketplace. Register your independent dealership now. For many years, I've always considered myself to be a person that set goals, and I worked diligently to reach them, achieve them, overcome them, execute them, whatever it is, whatever it took. I've always had this knack of putting something in front of me and just working and going for it. And that's been probably one of the biggest driving forces for me in my life. And it has allowed me to see a lot of successes and a lot of experiences, even some hiccups and failures. They've all come within stride of each other. And I wouldn't change them just because of what those experiences may have come out to be. I know that there's purpose in everything, pretty much. One of the things that I've come to understand, I was having a discussion with somebody about college and degrees, and and I'm not going to say this in a hypocritical manner, because I do actually have a bachelor's degree and two higher learning educational degrees, 2 master's degrees, and a pending JD law degree. That's a whole nother conversation. But for the most part, we're in a stage in life where we're going through another transformation of time, where you're starting to see a return of trades. I won't just say trades, but, having a trade has always been something significant. It's never a dying aspect. Trades are always consistently a go-to thing. But we are experiencing this transition where about 10, 15 years ago or greater, it was heavily hell-bent that you needed to have a degree. If you really wanted to be considered with, being able to get good jobs or to be, considered someone an expert in your field, you had to have a degree, right? Especially these applications now, you can put a job in for McDonald's and they may say you need a degree. I mean, it got to that point. You guys know I'm not being facetious here. And now we're going back to this point of it's not necessarily the full consideration. It's weird. So you have those like myself who have been, as they say, professional students, going and obtaining education and still going back and getting the education. And now it seems to be, I remember bachelor's was like the first level. Then the master's degree became a thing. Now it's starting to see more prevalency of people getting doctors of education degrees, not just medical doctors or, attorneys with JDs or, professors that are in education. But you're seeing the doctorate degrees moving just as much. The funny thing about it is we're getting back to this point in the society where certificates, in-app learning, self-taught, self-paced certifications can be just as equivalent as a degree in certain fields. There always is these shifts when it comes to things going on in society. It causes things to shift in, where people focus themselves, where they may invest into certain levels of education or passions or attention. So, it's no secret we're in this heavy digital technology age. So it's not uncommon that you're seeing all these levels of tech things come into play. And people are becoming more certified in different things and taking that education and taking those aspects and furthering it in their business and in the workplace. But, it's become this thing where degrees are not holding the same precedence that they used to. Prime example, I have a master's in project management. Let me just use this as an example. I have a master's in project management, an MPM. There's various levels of project management certifications. You have the Project Management Institute, which heavily governs the organization of project management. And there are people who may not get degrees, but they may get a project management certification. They may go agile. They may go into, they might do some Sigma. And there's just so many plethoras and breakdowns of things that fall in that space. And a person could get certification tracks, not have a full degree, and still be competitive in this industry, right? So why is that? What makes, a hiring manager or someone to consider a person that may not have a degree but have the experience? IT, another prime example. I have a friend that's been in IT for 30, 40 years almost. And, their education and work experience is so far greater than most people coming out of school with degrees, to where they can ink a job anywhere they want, pretty much, because they have the experience. We're getting back to that age and stage of those things. The biggest thing that I would tell you that levels the both sides of that equation is execution. If you're at a point of delivering and making good on what it is that you're supposed to be and do, it just gives you a level of respect. It gives you a level of opportunity that most likely you wouldn't experience if you were not executing. So what does that look like? Execution is, completion, finishing, seeing it through, even if something, and that does not mean that it comes out the way you want all the time, but at least do your part, see it through. Guys, listen, this is not a judgment statement, because when I tell you I am heavily aware that I have been a procrastinator in so many things. And it's funny, it's complex. It's not just procrastination, but there's also this other side that has this level of perfection in one side of the mind that makes me sometimes draw back or put things to the side or minimize the moment of certain things to get done because it has to be a certain kind of way. Does not mean that I am always leveled in complete perfection, but there is the psychology of things that are happening in my mind that result in how I move or create or finish or not, right? How many times have you found yourself in a place where you knew you needed to make a decision on something, or you knew you needed to do something? Maybe it's just even in your life. Maybe you just need to do a career change or something that you want to advance into. And you have to, designate certain things in order for you to get to them. And what I think, we're dealing with, so many things that are happening in the world that can draw your attention in so many different directions. So it's always easier to say you could be this, do this, or do that. But to actually do them and work them is a whole nother ball game, right? How many times have you had things that you have had full intentions of doing, getting it done, put it down, wrote it down, put the sticker on your refrigerator door, made the mental note, put the sticky post-it in your car, wherever you needed to remind you. And yet you looked at it, observed it, acknowledged it, but still didn't finish it. I know I'm not the only one with my hand in the air, right? Why is that? Right? Why is it that we will do some things and not do others? Now, this is the other part about it. We'll do those kind of things and then complain about how things aren't changing for us, or that we want something better for ourselves, or we desire this thing to come forth towards us. But what are we working towards to bring it to us? What are we doing to complete certain things? Like, there's a reason why as children, we're taught things in moderation, or we're taught things in a step-by-step process. Tying your shoe. You're taught to tie your shoe as a kid in a certain in a certain magnitude, which should make sense for you to remember, right? You'll take one lace, take the other, bend it, take the other lace, bend it. Or you maybe learn to tie and loop around. There's different ways to get to it. I'm not saying there's a one-way strategy here. But my point is that most times we're taught to do certain things in steps or measures so that we can get to a point of completion and finishing things. I remember when I made a decision to go to school to get my master's degree in MBA, in business administration. I was working for Verizon. I was living in Florida. And they had tuition reimbursement, and I took advantage of the program and started that process. Unfortunately, I did allow myself to get distracted to the point of not going beyond that first 2 semesters, maybe a quarter, I think a semester and a half. It wasn't a full year. And I stepped back. I did not. I think I did the courses I had, and then after those courses, I didn't go to another level. I just stopped. And, I could sit here and lie and give reasons why I didn't, but I didn't. And part of it was I did allow some aspects of myself and others to be a distraction to it. So needless to say, I don't complete it at that time. Worked for the company for some years. And then, of course, what did I do? I returned, revisit the situation. This time I'm having to take the blunt of it. So now the financial aspect of it now falls on me. So what does that say for me? It a decision to not do something and to see it in completion at that time kind of worked against me. I had an opportunity to take full advantage of something and leverage an opportunity, but I decided not to do it at that time and see it through. Doesn't mean I failed at it. Doesn't mean that I'm a failure or I just a slacker or any of those things. It doesn't. But it does make a difference when I look at the big picture of things and I look at, that was 2003, 2002, right? So when I decided to go back during the recession, things were slow. Business had, shifted. Work opportunities shifting. I was living in Atlanta. The real estate market was heavily, created a nemesis in the metro Atlanta area, catapulted into so many different dimensions of work related and career related things that people were doing in the metro Atlanta area. So it took a big blunt. And so, most people in the country remembers this. It was a hard time to really figure out how to maneuver, right? We had such a financial crisis and collapse. But, at that time, what do? You take advantage of those moments. It doesn't mean that there's not opportunities there. So, of course, I made a decision. I said, you know what, let me revisit this. And I enrolled back into, which was DeVry University, Keller Graduate School, and decided to go back. And in that decision, I said, you know what, I'm still managing to do projects. I was still working outsourced projects, traveling and working and stuff. So I started doing one class at a time. But guess what? It took me, 2.5 years over that course of time, but I finished it. Right? So I think, guys, that for whatever the reason, today was a good day to have this discussion. I had this this theory of, allowing myself out of my meditation to make my decision about what I wanted to talk about. And I had my little list of topics of things that I was looking at of consideration today when I ultimately decided to record this segment today. And for whatever the reason, I felt the need to talk about execution. One thing that I think is important, we're already looking at the first quarter of this year, already in 2023, coming fast. Like literally after the month of March, we're headed right into the second quarter. Springtime, which for me, I can't wait till Sunday when time changes. I'm a person that loves daylight. Not daylight. I don't know what you call it. Spring forward, daylight savings. I don't know. I like longer days of sunlight. Right? I just feel like I get a lot more done. My mood is better. People are a lot more receptive. I don't know if you pay attention to this, but I promise you guys, during the winter, and it's been a really rainy season, there's been snowfall in a lot of places. The temperatures have been eclipsing all over the place. It affects a lot of people's moods, or how much activity or how much drive. A lot of times you'll see the difference. So as we get closer in towards the spring and the sun is coming out and is out longer days of sunlight, you start to see people start to do things more. And I've noticed that people tend to be more prompt, and they seem to get things more attention. I just see a higher level of productivity this time of year. So execution, guys, I'm challenging you today to, 3-4 things. Write it down, whatever you need to do, put it in your voice memos, however you remember best. But literally execute whatever it is you need to execute today and see it through. And then once you get it done, consciously tell yourself, good job. Because sometimes I don't even think we recognize how much we do, how much we're responsible for. And to get through things sometimes can be a chore for many reasons. And because of that, we also got to remember to think about ourselves and how we function and how we handle and do things, and recognize the power in that, right? And to give yourself credit for getting it done. And you might be saying to me, Sonny, this is my job, or I got my kids. There ain't no choice. Yeah, there is a choice. Trust me when I tell you, because there's some people that are not showing up. There's some people that are not choosing to work. There's some people who are going to work, clocking in, but they're not showing up. They're physically not doing what it is that they're supposed to do. And they're putting pressure on other people in their place because they're not doing their part. So I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, yeah, no, because there are people that don't. Parents, children, listen, there's some people who do and they don't. And those who do, I commend you. Those who don't, I'm praying for you. And there's no judgment here. I just recognize that the more we can be accountable for our part, I promise you it makes a huge difference. it makes a huge difference. Sometimes we work with some people that don't show up, that don't do, that complain, that make it hard for you and everything. And it's real easy to get caught up on a person's actions towards you, their participation, their lack of communication, the lack of willingness. But what you gonna do? Are you gonna focus on that? God, my coffee's good, y'all. I got some good coffee this morning. Are you gonna focus on that, or are you gonna focus on yourself? Are you gonna focus on what you need to do and how you can do what you need to do to get further ahead? So today, we're first Monday in March, and I just have high expectations for us, guys. I'm just going to tell you. I have very high expectations for us. I feel like I've always been that person that do not mess around and tell me that you want something and you're sharing it with me. I will have no problem working towards keeping the accountability of conversation with you there. And that challenge, because I know I have to challenge myself a lot of times. And there are times where I can lack and be lazy and don't feel like it and be burned out and tired and exhausted. And it can rub off. It can create, a pattern, and you don't even recognize it. And each day that goes by, you don't even realize, oh yeah. Prime example, I went to the gym yesterday. I've been paying for the gym, and it's been coming out, and it ain't a whole lot of money, but it's been something that I've been invested in. I made a decision to do it, and yet I wasn't showing up for myself. Who am I going to blame? The bank for taking it out, the gym for taking it out, and then I'm looking at my stomach looking back up at me. Look, who am I going to blame for that? So what am I doing? I'm taking one day in this day and measuring that day and taking whatever it is that I put forth in my day to get done and work my best to do is exactly what I said I was going to do. Because I promise you guys, the best thing you can do is show up for yourself. And then from there, if you can have anybody else in your circumference that show up for you or ride with you or do the things necessary that they can or will or could or should do, that's a blessing. That's extra. But for you, execute today. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is, get something done today and then recognize you did it. And then I want you to tell yourself, I did it. And you ain't even got to say it out loud, but please make a note of it, right? And let yourself know that that's one less thing. What's up next? Hey, if you got a business today that you work in a sales department and you might work off commissions, or you may be a quota-driven organization, or you just got to make something happen today. I already see it for you. I already intend it for you. Let's go, guys. Let's get it. Let's get it. Today is a great day to do whatever it is that you set out to do. And I believe in you, and I believe in the ability for you to execute. So I'm going to tell you, that's all I got today. I wasn't going to keep you long. I was going to make it short, simple, and sweet and to the point, because today we're getting some things done. We're executing. So I want you to have a fantastic day. Make it happen. Later. You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network. This episode is sponsored by loudmouth.com, the #1 small business online network. We're putting the word out about small business. Put your business on the referral network online that wants to put the word out about you. $30.7 million small businesses in the U.S., creating 1.5 million jobs annually. Small business accounts for 64% of new job creation in the U.S. There's strength in numbers. No matter what we face, know that there's strength in us. Because of you, we're able, we're capable, we're resilient, and we are available because we are small business. And together, we're the economy. You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network.